Imagine this. The city of Tehran, ancient and modern, is waking up under a sky streaked with the first light of dawn. The city's heartbeat is restless, its people moving through the streets with a sense of unease that's almost tangible. There's a heaviness in the air, a tension that seems to cling to every corner, every alleyway, every crowded marketplace. It's a Tuesday in Tehran. The city is restless, the air heavy with tension. People go about their routines, but there's a sense that something is about to break. Shopkeepers open their stalls, students hurry to class, and families gather for breakfast, all while a silent anxiety simmers beneath the surface. Suddenly, a grainy video surfaces online. A senior official, famed for his piety, is caught siphoning billions into a secret foreign account. The footage is shaky, but the evidence is clear. The man who preached sacrifice and virtue is exposed as a fraud, his words now ringing hollow in the face of undeniable proof. The hypocrisy is undeniable. The footage spreads like wildfire. Within hours, it's on every phone, every screen, whispered about in cafes and shouted about in crowded markets. Social media explodes with outrage, memes, and calls for justice. The video becomes more than just evidence, it becomes a rallying cry. For a population battered by economic hardship and repression, this is the final straw. Years of inflation, unemployment, and broken promises have left people exhausted and angry. Parents worry about feeding their children, students see their futures slipping away, and everyone feels the weight of a system that seems rigged against them. Protests erupt. First a few hundred students, then thousands flood the streets by nightfall. The city's universities become the epicenter, but soon the movement spills into neighborhoods, workplaces, and city squares. The chants grow louder, echoing through the night, as more and more people join in. The video becomes a symbol, uniting people across class, ethnicity, and age. Young and old, men and women, the religious and the secular, all find common cause. For the first time in years, there's a sense of hope, a belief that change is possible if they stand together. Security forces hesitate. They see their own families in the crowds. Many are young conscripts, torn between orders and conscience. Some lower their shields, others look away, and a few quietly slip away to join the protesters. The line between oppressor and oppressed begins to blur. The regime's iron grip begins to crack. The government, long accustomed to ruling through fear, finds its power slipping as the people refuse to back down. Barriers are pushed aside, both literal and symbolic, as the crowds surge forward. Chants for reform escalate into demands for the supreme leader's resignation. What began as outrage over a single video transforms into a movement for sweeping change. The slogans are bold, the demands uncompromising. The government falters, some call for a crackdown, others for dialogue. The indecision is fatal. Cabinet meetings stretch into the night, with shouting matches and walkouts. Reformists urge negotiation, hardliners demand force, but no one can agree on a path forward. Protesters grow bolder, the elite fractures. Some officials quietly flee the country, others try to switch sides, and a few attempt to broker peace. The old alliances crumble as everyone scrambles to save themselves. Within a week, military commanders refuse to fire on civilians, some even join the crowds. The army, once the regime's shield, becomes its undoing. Soldiers are seen embracing protesters, their uniforms blending into the sea of demonstrators. The supreme leader is forced out. The Islamic Republic collapses, not with a bang, but with the roar of a people reclaiming their voice. The city erupts in celebration, fireworks lighting up the night as decades of fear give way to hope. The world is stunned. Analysts scramble for explanations, newsrooms buzz with speculation, experts debate the causes, and governments issue cautious statements. No one saw it coming, at least, not like this. They underestimated the depth of public anger simmering beneath the surface. Years of frustration, humiliation, and loss had built up like pressure in a sealed vessel. The video was just the spark that set it all off. The fall of Iran's regime is a geopolitical earthquake, sending shockwaves across the region. Borders suddenly feel porous, and the old order seems fragile. In neighboring countries, people watch with a mix of awe and envy. In capitals from Beirut to Riyadh, leaders watch in dread. They see the writing on the wall, wondering if their own people will be inspired to rise up. Security meetings are called, emergency plans drafted, but the sense of panic is unmistakable. They know one fallen domino could topple the entire structure. The fear is contagious, spreading faster than any video ever could. The region holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. The question is no longer if the contagion will spread, but how fast, and where next. In coffee shops and living rooms, people whisper about change. On social media, hashtags trend in new languages, and videos of the Iranian protests inspire others to take to the streets. This is how a single video can unravel a regime and shake a region. It's a reminder that in the digital age, truth can travel faster than fear, and that sometimes all it takes is one spark to ignite a revolution. The domino theory, one nation's collapse triggering others, was born in the Cold War. Eisenhower invoked it to justify Vietnam, seeing the world as a chessboard of superpower rivalry. But the theory ignored local grievances and internal pressures that truly drive revolutions. Today in the Middle East, the domino effect is less about foreign plots and more about shared struggles. Youth unemployment, corruption, and social media create a volatile mix. When one country rises, neighbors see their own hopes reflected and act. The modern domino effect is fueled by inspiration, not invasion. The Arab Spring stands as the region's clearest example of a domino effect in modern history. In a matter of months, a wave of uprisings swept across the Middle East and North Africa, toppling long-standing regimes and shaking the foundations of power that had seemed unmovable for decades. It all began with a single act of desperation, when Mohamed Bouazizi, a Tunisian street vendor, set himself on fire in protest against government corruption and police harassment. His tragic self-immolation became the spark that ignited a movement, inspiring millions who felt voiceless and oppressed. Within just a few weeks, the Tunisian regime collapsed under the weight of mass protests. The world watched as the shockwave of revolution spread rapidly from one country to another, challenging the status quo across the region. In Egypt, hundreds of thousands filled Cairo's Tahrir Square, demanding change and refusing to back down. After 30 years in power, President Hosni Mubarak was forced to step down, marking a historic victory for people power. Inspired by these successes, uprisings erupted in Libya, Yemen, Bahrain, and Syria. Each country's struggle took on its own character, but all were fueled by a shared desire for dignity, freedom, and justice. Yet, the initial euphoria soon gave way to harsh realities. Libya descended into a brutal civil war, Syria was plunged into a devastating catastrophe, and Egypt saw the return of renewed authoritarianism. The hopes of millions were met with violence, instability, and shattered dreams. The Arab Spring proved the incredible power of ordinary people to demand change, but it also revealed the immense challenges and dangers that come after the fall of a dictator. The path to democracy and reform is never simple or guaranteed. Removing a dictator is only the first step in a much longer journey. Building new institutions, healing divided societies, and creating lasting change require patience, resilience, and unity. The road to real reform is long, uncertain, and often perilous. Many activists and citizens continue to struggle for their rights, facing setbacks and new forms of repression. The lesson of the Arab Spring is clear: revolution is only the beginning. The true test lies in what comes after, as societies strive to turn hope into lasting progress. The sudden and dramatic fall of Iran's long-standing regime sends shockwaves through the nation, creating a massive and unexpected power vacuum at the very heart of the country. For decades, the government's grip seemed unbreakable, but now, its institutions stand deserted and silent. Their authority vanished almost overnight. Across the country, the streets erupt in jubilation. People pour out of their homes, waving pre-revolutionary flags and celebrating late into the night. The air is electric with hope and relief as Iranians from all walks of life come together to mark the end of an era. Yet beneath the surface, uncertainty simmers. The coalition that toppled the regime is a patchwork of ideologies and ambitions. Secularists, Islamists, ethnic minorities, and the nation's restless youth all envision vastly different futures for Iran. Some demand a return to tradition, others push for sweeping reforms, and many simply want their voices heard for the first time. Tensions rise as heated debates break out in public squares and city streets. Infighting looms large. Will Iran emerge as a vibrant democracy, a secular republic, or perhaps something entirely new and unexpected? The path forward is anything but clear. Meanwhile, the world watches closely. With the regime gone, international sanctions may be lifted, unleashing a flood of Iranian oil onto global markets. This sudden surge could send oil prices plummeting, destabilizing economies across the Gulf and far beyond, with ripple effects felt worldwide. Inside Iran, ethnic minorities, Kurds, Azeris, Baluchis, and others, see a rare opportunity to push for greater autonomy or even independence. Their demands threaten to fragment the country, raising fears of internal conflict and regional spillover. The collapse of central authority shatters Iran into competing pieces, each region a potential flashpoint for violence or separatism. The unity of the nation hangs by a thread, and every city becomes a stage for new struggles. Neighboring countries, alarmed by the chaos, brace for the fallout. Borders are reinforced, emergency meetings are held, and military patrols increase, as leaders fear the unrest could spill over and ignite wider instability across the Middle East. In this volatile moment, the first domino doesn't just fall, it explodes, sending shockwaves across the region and setting off a chain reaction that could reshape the Middle East for years to come. In Lebanon, Hezbollah loses its Iranian lifeline overnight. Cash and weapons dry up, rivals see a chance to reclaim power. The fragile peace could shatter, risking civil war. In Syria, Assad loses his main backer. Rebel groups and regional powers may seize the moment. The conflict could reignite with new ferocity. Both countries face chaos, power vacuums, renewed fighting, and the risk of extremist resurgence. The Levant is thrown into turmoil. The shockwaves from Tehran threaten to break Lebanon and Syria apart. The region's old order unravels. The dominoes keep falling. Gulf monarchies greet Iran's collapse with relief and terror. Their main rival is gone, but the sight of a toppled regime terrifies rulers. Their own populations, especially the young, are watching and learning. Oil prices crash as Iran re-enters the market, forcing painful austerity. Discontent grows. Shia minorities may demand more rights. The Gulf's gilded cages suddenly feel fragile. The precedent is set, no regime is immune. The fear of contagion is real and growing. In Iraq, Iran-backed militias lose support, plunging the country into uncertainty. Nationalists may seize the moment, but militias could fracture and fight for survival. The government struggles to contain chaos. ISIS could exploit the vacuum. Jordan, already fragile, faces new refugee waves and economic strain. Egypt's regime, fearing a similar uprising, tightens its grip. Oil price shocks and regional instability threaten aid and investment. The domino effect exposes the region's deep vulnerabilities. Leaders scramble to maintain control. The ground beneath their feet is shifting. No country is untouched by the tremors. The world's powers scramble to respond. The US sees a victory, but crisis management quickly replaces celebration. Washington faces pressure to stabilize Iran, Lebanon, and Syria, without appetite for new wars. Russia loses key allies and bases, and may try to sow chaos to block Western gains. China fears for its energy security and investments, pushing for stability above all. Each power maneuvers to protect its interests as the region unravels. The Middle East becomes a new arena for global competition. The collapse in Tehran redraws the world's strategic map overnight. Is the Middle East truly on the brink? The root causes of unrest, youth unemployment, corruption, repression, are worse than ever. Social media unites grievances across borders. Climate change adds new pressures. The region's foundations are eroding from every direction. More repression won't stop the dominoes. Only real reform, jobs, justice, accountability, can offer stability. Most regimes resist change, clinging to the status quo. But without reform, the question isn't if a domino will fall, but when. The world must prepare for what comes next. The future of the Middle East hangs in the balance.